I think that these marks around here are a concern. If you've watched some of the previous episodes, you'll know that the barrels and the pistons on this particular engine have got a little bit of a story to tell. Be worth going to have a look at that if you haven't already. But I also needed to have a look at the bottom end. I don't really want to strip it completely. I suspect I may end up stripping it completely. What I'm going to do in this particular video is I'm going to lift it up using this fantastic stand. If you haven't seen the video on that, it's really useful. But I'm going to lift the engine up and support it with some blocks so that I can actually get the sump off and oil galleries at the bottom. I'm hoping to find nothing. I'm expecting to find mayhem. Let's get on with it. I don't think the manufacturers of this stand have actually recommended to use it this way, but I'm pretty sure this is going to work. I haven't got the barrels on, I haven't got the head on, so there's not a lot of weight here. I've positioned this stay so that it's right at the end. And basically, grunting and groaning, starting now. Once you've got it to that bit, you could actually hold it with your little finger. Now, just a bit on the wiggle. There we go. Now I'll shuffle it round so I've got it facing this way out, and then I'll be able to get at all the bits I want, and it's all pretty secure. There's an oil gallery there and an oil gallery there, which I'm going to undo and have a look inside. And I'm going to take the sump off, and obviously the strainer for the pumps there. I'll be able to have a look at that. I'm hoping to find nothing. If I find nothing, the next thing I can do is I can check the primary chains while I've got it like this, which would be a good thing to do. My fear is I'll possibly round this off, and if I round it, I'm probably not going to take it out. It's been powder coated on in the past, so I'm just going to give it a bit of a help at where it actually joins by running a knife around. Totally ruined the knot. Bit of a shame that, because obviously the aluminium nut head on here is giving up straight away. And I like to look in the galleries, but they aren't the crucial bit. I'm going to get the sump off, and if I don't find anything in the sump, then I probably wouldn't have found anything there because they're running this way. So, get the sump off now. When this engine's had a refresh, someone's replaced all of these with stainless H5 Allen-headed machine screws. So hopefully they should come out a lot easier than the galleries. The trick with any multi-screw engine plate like this is to undo them all and leave them in. They'll all be out the same sort of length. Some of them will be longer, and when you're putting them back, all you need to do is, when you're pulling them out, is make sure they all go back into the same length before you tighten them. You don't need to try and remember which were the long ones and which were the short ones. And for all of you that thought, he's not done that bottom one, I saved it till last. Well, it definitely hasn't been sealed on for years, has it? Right, the big reveal. Carnage or cleanliness? You see first. At first sight, bit of carnage there, or is it? There is some metal in there, but it's mostly fibre of some description. And it is the filter before the oil filter, so could have stopped a lot of stuff. I will need to look a little bit further. At first I found this very worrying, but I've had worse in my belly button, I think. There's definitely some little bits of metal, or are they? It feels like there is. But do you know what that looks like? what you'd get if you were putting a helicoil in. And if it is, then it's probably drained straight down into the sump and straight into that filter. And that's why I didn't see any in the oil filter. Have to have a look a little bit further now. There was a bit of shrapnel on the filter, but to be honest, not a lot, and most of it was fibre. I'm thinking I'll take the oil filter, oil pump off. I think it's only held on by 3 machine screws, and I'll look a little bit further into that before I really start making any decisions. So let's see. Maybe I'm stuck, maybe I'm not. There we go. So what I'm going to do is have a look in here. And it does look, somebody's looked in there in the past. Let's hope it was in the Honda factory. Now looking in here, there is not a load of shrapnel. Let's just see what comes off here with a magnet, if anything. There's nothing on there that's untoward. Basically, I'm feeling anywhere in corners that things might have built up. And to be honest, it's just clean oil at the moment. This is looking better than I feared. And for moments like this, I've got some GIS impact bits. So let's just choose the right one. Link in description. There's nothing looking untoward in there. Something's been in here and that shouldn't be. And I haven't seen enough of these particular types of pumps to know, so I'm going to investigate that before I go much further. Been a bit of a break since I started this video, because when I found the marks on the inside of the oil pump, I was a little bit perturbed. I was concerned that that might be a big issue, and admittedly some people tell me it is a big issue, but I've also spoken to other people who, I respect their opinion, and they've actually said most pumps of that type have those marks when they've been run for a few thousand miles. It doesn't look particularly bad. And using Honda's own wear guide, of end tip, the clearance at the tip, the rotors seem in really good condition. Other than that, I do know that it was showing good oil pressure, so the pump should be fine. The actual marks on the outside won't cause it to suddenly fail catastrophically. So you can use the pump. There was also the concern of the bits and pieces I found in the bottom. Now, there wasn't sufficient for me to say, oh, that's a disaster. But there was a few bits here and there that really was worrying, and a bit of sludge, which I was surprised at. And then someone said, if someone had put new synthetic oil in it, it's obviously, it had cleaned a lot of things out and dragged it all down to the sump. And that sort of makes sense to me. So I've decided that I am going to run with this bottom end. I'm going to put it back together, new seals and such like, give it a good clean, obviously, what I can see. But I'm going to run with this bottom end. I have checked the primary chain, and it's at 66 mil. To check the primary chain, you check how far the tensioner has moved in. And Honda say once you've got 70mm, that's when the chain will need replacing. And you measure it on, there's a flat on the actual tensioner inside, and the simple way to do it is to use a vernier. Make sure it's positioned on the flat. So we're measuring it to there. That's given me 66.8. Primary chain's fine. I've decided I will run the bottom end as is. Put a couple of 100 miles on it. Have another look at the filters. Have another look at the gauze underneath. If there's nothing arriving in there, then I'll accept that it's okay. And, you know, I'm sure it is actually. The biggest issue I've got though is what am I going to do with the top end? I have got pistons. I've got Yoshimura 823cc piston rings, so I'm sorted there. What I haven't got is barrels that are the right size. Now, I've been in touch with a couple of places that I would trust to do this kind of work, and to be honest, I've not got any further on. You know, they won't re-sleeve my old ones. They would bore a new set of barrels, but I haven't got a new set yet. I'd like re-sleeving, to be honest, or I would like a really good set of barrels which I haven't been able to find. So part of me thinks I have got a set of standard barrels and standard pistons. I might build the engine up with them so that I can check the bottom end out more. See how it runs, and then if I'm happy, then go to the effort of looking further afield for, well, I might have found new barrels by then, or getting something done with the barrels that I've got. It's always a conundrum. There's no right answers. Yeah, even if I rebuilt everything from scratch with all new parts, I could still accidentally build in a mistake. So there aren't any right answers. They're just decisions to make and then repercussions to those decisions. I'm really in a quandary about this. It's why I've been struggling to actually get this finished off. I did look at buying another engine, and again that didn't seem a good option. So what do you think? Let me know what your advice would be. There is a bit of junk in the bottom here. This is exactly, I've not had much of a look at this at all. And it doesn't seem magnetic. So whatever it is, you know, it's just the general debris that builds up inside engines. So there's nothing there that worries me. I'm going to give that a clean out now. I'll get all the junk out of that, get it nice and clean so it's ready to go back on. I've given the oil pump a good clean and I've put it back together. There are two 46 by 2mm O-rings inside that I've replaced. I'll give it a good clean, put them all back exactly where they came from. Now in the manual it says you need to prime it before you put it back in the engine. So what I'm going to do is submerge it in oil and run it for a bit and see how we go on. Could be a bit messy this. Obviously what I'm looking for, I'm not quite sure which way this runs, so I'll be looking for it to suck oil in and spit some out somewhere. I can see it sucking there and blowing here, so to speak. What I'm going to do is just put it up like that. No, that didn't work. Archimedes, you were right. I did give this a really good clean beforehand. Now I can see air bubbles coming out there, so let's assume And definitely air bubbles have now stopped. Oh, there was one. That small one. Now I think once it's been bled, whichever way you run it, it should still work. It feels good actually. Right, I'm pretty confident that has been primed now. Now I'm going to just pull it out of there and let the excess drain off before I put it on. And I've taken the O-rings off the outside. They are 15 by 2.5, and I've got some lovely Viton 15 by 2.5 to go back in there. So there's 2 ports there and 1 there that I'll put them onto. Let that drain off for a bit, and then I'll pop it back on. I have bad experience of these M6 into alloy, so I'm always very, very cautious with them. And I'm taking them to 7 Newton meters with my smallest torque wrench first of all. That's 7. And then I'm going to up it to 9. Spot on 9. And I'm going to definitely stop there. Could take them to 10, but 9 puts them at the bottom of the torque setting, and I'm happy with that. I'm expecting to have this off in the not too distant future, and the gasket that came off is actually in quite, is in perfect condition, to be honest. Not quite as pliable as I would have liked, but I'm still going to reuse it. When I'm doing that and I'm expecting to have a piece off again, what I use is a bit of grease on both faces, so that it will give it a little bit of filling in some of the gaps, but it will make it so it doesn't stick. If I was putting this on and not expecting to ever take it off, I'd probably use something like Honda Bond, one of the lighter ones or something, but this should be absolutely fine. I'll give this a good clean round. The other beauty with grease is if you get a little bit inside the engine, it's really not going to matter. It doesn't have to be too much. There you go, that'll stick nicely in place. Same treatment round here. Just shove a couple of corner ones in first, just to hold it in place. And with the grease on your finger, it's the added bonus of nothing will turn. That'll do with that one. And well, let's go mad and use a long one here. I've got a couple of corner ones in, and then all I need to do is put all the others in place, and you'll notice there are different sized ones. You just look that they're actually sticking out about the same. That's good to me. So I'll just snug them down, literally nothing on them. So what I will do is I'll go around, do them to 7, and then I'll tighten them up to 9 Newton meters. There's the one that was missing. When I'm tightening a plate like this, if I've not been given any other instructions, I always tend to tighten from the middle outwards. So what I'll do first of all is I'll literally just make sure that they are snugged down. Without going silly on them at all. And if I don't quite keep the pattern but keep working towards the outside, it's not such a big deal. Alright, so I'm happy with that. Next, I'll take these, because they're M6s, to 7 Newton meters. Again, working basically from the middle to the outside. Now obviously I've got a bit of an issue getting into these ones, so what I'll do is I'll take the others up, but I'll have to do those and just judge it a little bit by hand. Everything torqued back up there, so what I want to do now is put it back down onto the stand so it's flat, and I can start thinking about the top end parts that I'm going to be looking at. If memory serves me right, this is heavy. There we go. Once I get it to there, I am pretty confident that we can do that. And put it around. Ah, what a man. Maybe not. Sorry if this video has been a little bit bitty. Really you don't know where you're going to end up when you set off with an old bike, unless you decide I'm going to redo everything from ground zero, which unless you've got a lot of money is frequently not what you really want to do. You want to end up with a decent running bike, and you don't want to take too many risks, but you'll have to take some. So what did I find out? Well, first of all, the heads on those oil galleries are a little bit flimsy, so if you're going to take them out, you do need to bear that in mind. I found a little bit of gunge in the bottom of the engine, but nothing really horrific. If this had been a bike that I'd been riding around on and I brought it in, there was nothing there that I thought, oh my god, I'm going to have to take this off the road instantly. I found that the rotors on the oil pump were not as pristine as I'd like them to be, but they certainly was within the wear limits of the Honda manual. So when I say within, you couldn't get feeler gauges into the bits you're supposed to measure, because they're that good. Scratches on the sides of the rotors, I've been told, isn't necessarily a major issue. No doubt someone in the comments will throw their hands up in horror, but we'll see. If you really think so, let me know. I've put the sump back on, gave that a clean out. What I intend to do now, and all my plans are subject to change at a moment's notice, is to give what's here a good clean and then investigate my 750 barrels that I've got and see if I could actually build it up with them. I might turn out that I don't do that, but that's what I'm thinking. Anyway, if you do want to find out what we'll do next, why not subscribe and give us a like if you could, because giving us a like really does help the channel. But thanks for watching anyway.